Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. We're also sponsored by Architect, the premier site for hosting your decks on the internet. I love them and they love me, and it seems like a good reason for you to use them. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivamB. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect and Quiver and my patrons at patreon.com/ShivamB. People say I keep saying that too fast, so I'm going to try slowing it down. Today, I am very, very happy to be joined by somebody who we've been trying to get on this show for, let's say, 150 episodes.
It's pretty close.
My friend and content creator emeritus, old school content creator, and just like Cube dude and I don't know, cool guy in general. My buddy Andrew Magrini. Hey man, it's great to see you.
We're here. We're finally doing the thing. We finally found. We found the overlap in our schedules that has been unable to be found in, what is it, like 5 years, give or take, thereabouts?
And you know what's even funnier is that I almost had to cancel this one because my mom went in and had a medical, operation or something. And she was like, oh, I might need you to come stay over on, today and like help watch me. And then she called me, she's like, oh, it'll be fine. And I'm like, all right, great. Because that would have been deeply ironic to me if it's like, oh, of course, it's on Andrew Day. We gotta just call it.
I would have said it would have been absolutely amazing for you to generate the image to go up with the podcast episode, but then to have no episode. Like it feels like it would be so perfect in terms of just landing the running joke.
That would have been clean and classic. No, my mom, she needed to get like some cortisone shots in her elbow, and that just hurts a lot. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, and she's fine. It's not a big deal, but it's also, when your parents get old, you gotta help. But yeah, like it's funny because like you and I have been running around circles with each other in Twitter for years and years and years and years and years. We have a lot of friends in common. And then I got to crash with you at the first MagicCon in Philly and really see like, oh, this dude, first off, your cube is sick. It is so cool. Like I am a secret cube junkie. Maybe it's not a secret. Maybe people just don't know, but cube is like basically the best. I don't know. I think my favorite way to play is still Chaos Sealed, followed by Cube. But Chaos Sealed is like once Cube was number one until I discovered the joy of playing like Sealed Box Commander and Chaos Sealed Commander. But Cube is number two.
Oh, for sure. I think the thing with Cube that's really beautiful is you hear so many folks out there talking about it. It is such a curated and personal expression of the person who's the designer behind it. Yes. And so that's one of my, being able to go to events, being able to hang with people, being able to hang with folks like you, and being able to see like how you interact with the same game pieces that hundreds of other people have at this point. I think it's just so fascinating. And yeah, I think there's beauty in the chaos of things because it's complete. It's like what I love about this is that your two favorite things are diametrically opposed.
Oh yeah,
chaos,
right?
chaos sealed, chaos draft. Those aspects, you are fully just to the wind.
Oh yeah, and it's like nuts and bolts magic. It's like literally the best thing you can do is have a 2/4 with a reach because it's going to do something, right? Like it is. There's no cohesion. There's no mechanical sensibility. It is just what has Richard Garfield given you? What are the gods putting on your plate? Good luck, have fun, happy birthday. And then Cube Draft, on the other hand, is like the most curated possible. In
Yep.
each individual card is selected for exactly what it does, the mana cost, the power and toughness, the very specific nature of even the art and the like
Mm-hmm.
printing and everything is like, oh no, this it's got to be this one that was only released as a promo in Russia. Whatever it is, it's got to be like pristine, like as hyper select personalized as you can get. And yeah, it's good to it's like Mengucci taught me. He's like, look, dude, when you get bored of one, go to the other, and it's okay for them to be as different as possible. You want to have a flavor, like when you get tired
Diversity.
of eating, like just cheese all the time, then you want to have some apples. It's a completely different flavor in your mouth, right? Like it's like you want. My son is practicing drums, and it sounds very loud.
Oh, I can't hear a thing over here. Just
Yeah.
FYI.
Well, this microphone very good, but like that's the thing. The other thing about Cube that I find really fun is like you were saying, it is an expression of your personality and like your curation and stuff. But then when each person interacts with it, you're like, okay, what parts of me are you taking and what are you passing? What do you care about? What is the thing that I've put on this plate in front of you that is singing to you, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I went, Eric Klug, who is another like hardcore cuber, invited me and a bunch of our friends to hang out with him during GDC. And one of his friends brought this cool artifact cube, and it was non-green. It was 4-color non-green, full artifact synergies and themes. My pack one pick one with Mishra's Workshop.
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah.
bad place to be. Not a bad
It's
place
not a
to be.
bad place to be in that because
Yeah.
it's hot with everything.
Right. But I was just like, when I think about my native tendencies, I'm going to take every green card I can take. Right. And I'm like, what do I take in a world where there's no green cards? Like, literally, my entire strategy is gone. What do I do?
That's actually really funny because that was this past weekend I had the opportunity to go up and be present at Boston Cube Party. So that's another one of these great grassroots events that they're cropping up all over the
I
place.
love all these little just cuber hoods that are showing up.
Cuberhood, that's a really sweet way of putting it. I actually love that a lot.
Because like when I think about it, I mean, yeah, because like when you think about it though, look at it, it's like there's a little pocket of CubeCon up here, and then there's Boston Cube Party here, and then it's like just little cubes that are just popping up all over the place, full of little super niche neighborhoods of local cubers, and it's like literally cuberhoods all over the place, right?
Yeah, you have Saltbox, you have Vertex, you have the cats at Upkeep New York here in the city.
Yeah,
up in Boston, obviously Madison, Wisconsin, home of CubeCon itself. So it's just like you have these hotbeds, and then it's been really interesting to see folks almost like the weird parallel I draw to this is like growing up in a household of deadheads and going to shows and
yes.
like it's just chasing the events
What?
around the
Honestly,
circuit.
that's exactly what MagicCon has started to feel like for me. Like going to each of the MagicCons in a year is like, oh, look, I get to see all my homies for like every quarter. Like we show up at a random place in a random world, and it's just the same crew of people, and you just kind of like it's like we're lifers that are just following the band, and you end up making these niche micro communities of friends that you only meet for 3 days out of like every 4 months or something, and it's great.
You
It's
know what the
really, really great. You're right. It is like following the dead, or like following a religion, or follow like your preacher's going around the world, and so you follow them around and do things. You build a little community that way, and that way, all of the different little like micro niches can kind of blend and like share and learn. Like
yeah.
it feels like I guess GP grinders would have had something similar when like, oh yeah, this weekend we're in Nebraska, next weekend we're in Tennessee, next weekend we're in Kyoto, and it's like the same group of grinders, and they all become friends. Except now anybody can do it, and not just like the people who are rich enough to live on the train and play pro Magic,
Yeah,
such as it is.
the casual nature of it, and what I love about it is it feels like it's become such a. I mean, it wasn't before. It's not that it wasn't before, but the amount of good people that go to these things that's really wonderful is in the fact that like I saw you at Philadelphia,
Mm.
however long ago that was, and then I see you again at Chicago, and it's like we haven't missed a beat. We just
Right.
pick up right where we were, and we have, we pick up on the conversations,
Oh, exactly.
and everything that came through like that. And that's, I think, one of the favorite things here is that there's a huge amount of distance apart between people. There's a huge amount of time between when we see people, but we never lose out on things. And
Yes.
I love, that's also why for me, I've become much more choiceful in just the amount of stuff. I used to go to so much. And for me, I've really brought it back because it's like, I want to be in that moment. I don't want it to become, quote, like the norm for me.
Hmm.
Like keep the specialness of it. So, that was like Philadelphia in particular was a big one for that. Chicago, I don't know if I'm going to do Vegas. I don't know if I'm going to do Atlanta this
I
year.
am really bummed because Vegas is the first one that I've missed since I'm going to be missing since like Barcelona. And because I couldn't obviously go to Barcelona, but I managed to get to Amsterdam somehow, which was insane. But like Barcelona, but like this Vegas is sucks because I love Final Fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
insanely love Final Fantasy. However, my wife got me tickets to Metallica on Friday and Sunday. They're local in town, and I've seen Metallica like 12, 13 times, and literally my favorite band of all time. And she got them for me. She got these tickets for me when I was in Spain and Commander was
Mm-hmm.
falling apart around me and I was getting just bombarded by hate and like, death threats and whatever. And then the format got pulled away from me and like, yanked and given to Watsy and everything was bad. And my wife was like, we're going to Metallica. And I'm
So
like, you
let's
know
go to
what?
Metallica.
Yeah. And then later friggin' Watsy announces when the MagicCon is. And I'm like,
That
no.
was the knife. That was the knife
Yeah.
twist.
And I'm
I
like, you
see
know
it.
what? Screw it. I'm still going to Metallica. I don't care.
Is that the show? Keep me honest. Is that the show that System and Limp Bizkit are at as well?
Yes. Well, no, I think it's going to be Limp Bizkit and Ice Nine at
Ice
the
Nine.
at these
Okay.
shows. But it's like it's 72 hours. It basically they're like we're going to be playing two sets and they're going to be entirely 100% different. And I'm like as a person who has seen every song they've ever played live, yeah, I'm here for it. Let's go.
That's sick. That's
Yeah.
so sick. I'll make you laugh. You're probably not going to really be able to see it, but like over here, I have a post. People, I'll paint the
Yeah.
picture for the audience, but
Yeah.
in my apartment, I have just like all sorts of paraphernalia between art and various things. And, in the corner over here, I have the very first concert I went to when I was 7 years old. I found a poster while
Oh, sick.
thrifting upstate, and then I have a beautiful framed poster of a concert that I took my father to in 2023. It was Dead and Company's last tour concert
Mm.
at. I always want to call it Shea, but it's City Field. But I
Mm.
call it Shea Stadium still.
Because we're old.
And the beauty, it's one of those things. Like, yeah, so Woodstock '94 was my first concert. Everybody's always like, "Oh, is that the concert that Metallica was at?" And it like went crazy. I was like, "No, no, no. That was 1999, 2000 up in
Yeah.
Rome, New York. That was a very different
Oh
show."
yeah. That
But
was like the
this
much more harsher, messed up
very
Woodstock.
destructive. It was the
Yeah.
chicken jockey of the '90s.
Oh
If
yeah.
I'm gonna if I'm gonna if I'm gonna date this,
You shut your damn mouth.
you
No,
swore
but
before me. That's amazing.
the 1999 1999 Woodstock. Like it's funny. 1994 Woodstock was like peace and love and jams
Mm-hmm.
and very like hippie centric and everything. The 1999 one was like slam dancing, mud pits, and like death metal, and
Yeah,
it was a different vibe.
that was it was the
I
the
watched it
start
on
of the
MTV. It was crazy.
it was so like the thing I failed to realize until recently though that happened at Woodstock '94 was that was the first big concert for Green Day. That was the first big concert that they played Dookie.
Yeah.
And so it was like here's little me not knowing like what that would turn into
It's
decades
funny
later,
because,
which
like,
is
for me at
insane.
that time, Green Day was still the local band from here. Like I saw them in Gilman once. Like I remember, but well, no, I got to see that. I saw them at a free show that they did outside. I didn't get to go into Gilman. I'm not old enough at that time, but I definitely saw a Green Day like way back in the billion years ago, and we were all like, "Yay, the local band!" But yeah, dude, like I'm not going to try to mess with my camera, but like right there, I've
Yeah, I
got
see.
all of the Metallica albums like framed and autographed from various times that I've gotten to meet them. Like it's weird because people are like, "Oh man, you don't look like a Metallica fan." And I'm like, "I've been to their studio, like
That's so
I've hung
good.
out with Dave Grohl at Metallica studio. It's crazy." Anyways, not the point. But the point is though, like when we got to hang out in Philly and you rented Airbnb and we crashed together, it was like awesome. It was so cool because like that was the first time like that I hadn't been in a hotel room with Magic fans, but in like a house where we can actually just sit and relax and kind of
Hmm.
like. And Philly was a compared to all the other Magic Cons, it was so low key and chill.
Well, that's yeah. I think it was definitely there was definitely an energy to being in Old City where we were. For folks listening, we rented out a uh, 2 unit building in Old City that was formerly a shoe factory.
Yeah,
And so it was so cool that like the owners of this space and how they curated it was they had like old paraphernalia, not necessarily from that shoe factory, but like kept in the theme,
hmm
and had a big old table for drafting and commander and all sorts of stuff. And it was just nice because it was also a great area just to be able to bounce outside and go and get like decent food. Like
yeah. I'm
I
very
don't
sad we haven't gone back to Philly because like the Reading Market is literally the best food at any Magic Con ever.
I'm so blessed now that like so I started a new gig in September, like right after Labor Day, and the three offices that they have, their headquarters is in Toronto.
Mm,
Um, their next biggest office is New York, and then the third office is Philadelphia. So it's like it's this beautiful trifecta of the cities I spend on the East Coast that I spend the absolute most time in and know the
great
best.
cities too.
Yeah. No, it's like so like the opportunity to go work out of the Philadelphia office like during the summer and stuff and to be able to just go stroll to Reading Market for lunch is just like
Shut up, man.
so good. So I know I have to put it in there just a little bit.
I don't know. It just I really just appreciate the vibes. Oh man, the vibes that we got from things like MagicCon. I like that. Okay, so first off, it annoys the hell out of me how expensive MagicCons have become. But
Hmm.
I understand, but I don't like it. It's like you can objectively understand. Like I get it why this is expensive, why the demand is high, rent is high, whatever. But also, what's the $1 billion company? Shut up. Like chill with that. It sucks that it's become so inaccessible because it's so revitalizing to
Yeah.
go. It feels so good to just
You
go. Like,
fill your cups.
yeah,
I've heard that term used a lot of late in terms of just like finding peace with yourself, being around people you love, and just
we
like
speak the same language. We
mhm.
understand each other innately. You don't need to know where someone's from or who they are or what their whole belief system or anything is. We all can just get there and chill and just be in a space with other true believers, basically.
Yeah. No,
It,
it's a real beautiful thing. I
yeah.
I sincerely, you know, there's certainly something, and I will never take credit for things like lobby cons and stuff like that. But I could tell you, back when GP New York, air quotes, when it was in Harmon Meadows and Sea Caucus at the Meadowlands Convention Center, like the thing to do was to grab food. And then I used to work in that complex, so I knew this. There was a litany of tables right there, and there was a bar.
Mm.
And what would basically happen is like the convention hall would fill up way too fast with GP goers. There was no room for casual play. Casual play didn't exist at that point. And so we just, by
Mhm.
virtue of having no room at all, more, not even less, like we just don't dig the vibe, we'd be in this hotel lobby playing, and then around 5 o'clock the bar would open and then the restaurant would open, and like everybody's staying at the hotel. And so like that became, I would say, one of the first areas, or first GPs I had seen where it was like truly a lobby con could exist, because the hotels were all connected in like such a condensed way.
Mm.
um but yeah, that was like I say, I feel my back tightening up when I say the good old days. But like striving for that same kind of energy, because like I love Chicago, and good friend of mine, very good friend of yours, Mike Linneman, like did a fantastic job with Wizards of the Coast Chicago, building out Lobby Con, obviously for Cons of Tarkir. And
Mm.
it was again, it's capturing the off-site vibes, but in a much
But it
more
was a
WotC
weird
formalized
small
way.
space. Like I think the idea was good, but like it felt a little too. It was the programming was a little weird.
It was a little, well,
But that
the,
said, I was also part of the programming, so it might be entirely my fault.
there was, so, well, here's the thing for me. I appreciate the opportunity, because for me, like I said, I don't fill my cup in truth playing a lot of Magic. I'll play a couple of games, and it's about hanging and doing things in and around the convention center. And what I love about that as a concept is that I'm able to keep myself connected to the scene, connected to the
Right.
story, learning and doing all sorts of new things. But it doesn't have to be as actively engaging as like my brain is when I'm drafting or
Well,
playing
yeah,
a game of
right.
Commander.
Like it's like I tell people that when I'm at a MagicCon, I'm cosplaying a Magic player. Like, yeah, I carry decks around and I've got the things, but real talk, I will play like sub 2 games in the weekend and maybe like one mystery booster draft just because I love them, and like
Mm-hmm.
whatever Gavin unknown events, right? But like the thing is that I don't go there to play Magic. I go there for Magic players,
Yep.
right? Like I want to go and meet my people, like because I can play Magic with anyone at any time, anywhere. That's my privilege. I understand not everybody has that privilege, but like I know that if I want to, I can call up some people and we can just jam all the time. But what I don't get is the internet, the interconnectedness of being in a room with people who love the thing you love
Mm-hmm.
and who can speak your language and who want to just share stories about themselves and about what we do, because it's the it's the culture, and it's the camaraderie and the interconnectedness that matters. That's why, like, when you go to a con and you come back and you're like just glowing, it's not because you played 650 games of Commander. It's because you hung out with all of these cool people from all over. So one thing at Chicago that happened, I was just walking around in the hall, kind of just ambiently looking, and I ran face first into my friend James Wyatt. James Wyatt is an old Magic designer, old D&D designer, and just recently became a high-ranking priest in his church or something like that. And so he had just been like given his like ordination, and he was here to talk about Cons of Tarkir, or I don't know, whatever, some Magic thing they wanted him to talk about. And I was like, James, I haven't seen you in forever. Let's hang out and talk and jam a game of Commander. And we sat down with a couple of strangers who didn't know who we were and made their day. And just like, I'm like, here, have some free, like, fancy foil cards. And, oh, look, that Commander, let me get you the designer who will sign it for you, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It was awesome. But it was also just like a chance meeting of somebody who lives 1,000 miles away from me, who is a
Mm-hmm.
dear, dear friend of mine that I had no idea was going to be in town, because we're all here for the thing.
Yeah.
And like, that just is like, I don't know. It's like when I see you at these Magic Cons, I'm like, we don't get to play because it takes a lot of time and just we got things to do. But it's always
Yep.
great to just be like, oh man, look, hey, it's you again, and have the good deep conversations while we're just chilling. It's like I
Yeah.
don't know, I love that stuff.
Well, and that's like, yeah, that was probably one of my favorite moments, was like the quiet time that we had. You were in, the creator zone, in the center of Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's, you're hitting your stamps, you're making your small talk, you're handing out Aether Drift packs. But at the same time, it's like, like things go quiet, and, we're just able to just kind of hang out and just be chill. Like there's no there's no agenda. There's no like, you know, like I love, I love the artists, and I love, the amount of what this does for them. But it's tough because it is a conveyor belt, and I feel like for y'all in the creator section, you're subjected to that to a fair extent as well. So, I definitely appreciate the quiet moments of just being able to just kind of hang out and just, talk.
Yeah, I mean, like,
trash.
right, exactly. It was funny. It was like, what, you, me, Klug, and Linneman just hanging out.
Oh, and Proxy.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Josh.
Proxy was there. Dude, I went out to dinner with Proxy, Jason Alt, and Klug afterwards. And just, I forgot how much I missed the small group, being able to just chat with no like,
no
concerns.
errors, no pressure, there's no
like,
cameras, there's no microphones in our face like they are right now.
Right. One of the weird things is that, like, all these people who are in this content cohort with me, we've all come up together. So we all remember just being able to hang out in small groups and chill and chat. And now if any two of us just gets together in the same proximity, suddenly it's a thing and there's people all over. And, like, yes, that is the price we pay for the gigs we've chosen. And, like, that's fine. I love that. But it also means that me and Prof, who've been friends for 15 or whatever years, can't just hang out and walk a room anymore, because that's, like, insane.
Just a different era. It's I talked about this with somebody the other day, and it's the change in what it means to be an influencer in Magic. And, like, when I came up in the GP competitive circuit scene,
like, if you weren't a GP competitor, we weren't, nobody cares, right?
Your influence was tethered to your prowess as a player. And I think in some cases that's still obviously true, but the concept of influence has changed also just in the greater sphere of things. But in particular, when it comes to Magic, it's shifted from you being as a player versus you as, don't take this the wrong way, but more as an entertainer, content creation.
It's not even a wrong way. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
That's
so.
Like, there's a reason why the only old guard guy who's managed to maintain is LSV. Because LSV is both the best player ever and also ridiculously entertaining.
The other person I put in there is Brian Kibler.
Oh yeah, Kibler. Like, Kibler is like, I don't know how he managed to rebrand himself from being one of the all-time spikiest, like, best players ever to being just, like, the stepfather of Commander or whatever it is.
I think it happened. It's funny. I used to host parties at Gen Con with Gathering Magic. We'd have the night zero party at Kilroy's, for folks that are familiar. And I remember, he certainly ruined, but at the time, especially, I was the little fanboy person that I am, him coming in, and it's just like talking nonstop about Commander, because that was the thing I was all about. And by no means am I taking any sort of credit for that. But I just remember, I think it was a gradual transition to, like, oh, I'm never going to play Commander, to I'm going to have a deck that's based on dragons, because that's what I obviously won with. And then off to the races, and all the more power to him and what him and Olivia have been doing, because I think, honestly, of the major top tier creators, I think Commander at Home's probably my favorite. That's always on the TV here, alongside like local cats like the Jank Lords up in Minnesota. Like,
for instance, you could not imagine a Finkel or a Kai sitting there and doing the kind of rebrand that a Kibler could get away with, right? Like, can you imagine Kai sitting down at a Commander table ever?
No,
ever?
or see, like, you can envision it in your mind's eye, but what is the texture of that game?
Yeah, like
is that an enjoyable game?
Think about playing, like, coming up with your, like, your janky theme deck and sitting down against, like, Zvi and Kai, and then, like, I don't know, like, just Sam Black or something, right? And you're like, I'm just going to die so quickly.
I'm sure.
Ben Stark, maybe.
I'm sure this actually, like, I'd have to ask.
That sounds like a hell table, doesn't it?
I'd have to ask BDM, because I know Brian like talking about neutral grounds in Jersey and like the hotbed of Magic players that came out of that, that could very well have been what that scene was like back when, cats like that were coming up on their own.
I've played Commander and QB V. It is not a fun time. Dude, we were drafting Klug's Pro Tour Cube. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time I'd met Klug, first time I'd met like V. It was like some GD some years ago. We're all hanging out, and Drew is there, Drew Levin, and like just a whole bunch of like other old schoolers. And like I've never drafted a Pro Tour Cube before, which is like just every winning deck from a Pro Tour. And I'm just going through, and there's a bunch of cards I've never played with because I didn't play during Odyssey block or whatever the hell. And I sit down against V, and I'm playing, and he's just getting visibly frustrated with how badly or slowly I'm doing. And he's like, just show me your hand. And I'm like, I showed him my hand. I'm like, okay, I won the Pro Tour with that card. I won the Pro Tour with that card, and you're playing all this wrong, and I win. And I'm like, great. Sounds good. See you next time.
This is partially why, I put a lot of chess content on. I've really like gotten hyper fixated on chess of late. And it's as much as I love the strategy and I admire it, I feel like that's exactly the kind of like situation I would get in that kind of thing. Because it's just like, full information, and it's really just like understanding your opponent's intuitiveness of like how and where they're going to react. Magic is just so much more. I mean, I play like a chaotic gremlin and I love it. I drive people nuts with how suboptimal a player I am, that it actually becomes optimal in the context of like a commander game where it's like, yeah, I'll pull a Sheldon and I'll play Soul Ring on turn 4. Just so that people don't focus on me. But it in the grander context of the game itself, you don't notice the change unless somebody's trying to put their boot down, in those first couple of turns. So, it's just very interesting to be in and around players that just have such a well calculated mentality like that, because I just can't. It's wild.
Like for me, it's the kind of the opposite. I've cultivated this image of being a hyper casual, super chill player, and I am in Commander and multiplayer games. I'm very much just like, I don't care. I want you to do the cool thing. If my deck pops off, great. If I win, great. If I don't win, also great. Don't care, because that's not the point. Mm-hmm. But then we sit down and we play a 2-player like draft or a standard game. I want to crush you as soon as I possibly can in the most humiliating and like, I don't care how little fun you were having. If you never play a single spell, then I have won. And like, and people just sit there and go like, you're hella cutthroat. I'm like, well, the rule, this is a different game that we're playing, man. If we're playing multiplayer chill time, I don't care. But here, my goal is to beat you yesterday.
It's why for me, getting to the heads up part of a commander game, I always lose if it lands on me versus another player, because you have to play so well in order to maneuver your way around, especially if you're playing a deck that is lower power than somebody else. Like, that becomes so apparent in those moments. That's also like, for me, as much as I am a designer of cube, I have 2 cubes. So I have a powered cube and I have the archenemy cube, which in and of itself is an entirely different beast. But for like powered cube, the reason I don't draft is twofold. First off, I'm just not a good heads up player. And I've acknowledged that. I've come to terms with that over the period of time. But I also just love, we were talking about it earlier on, just giving folks the opportunity to experience, like, give as many people the opportunity to experience it versus like being like the 8th player or the 10th player in a draft. I'd rather let somebody else sit in and let them experience it, because it's just so crazy.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know. It's funny to think about sometimes. It's just like, whatever, dude. Like, just play the thing that's fun. I don't care. Like, okay, I'm going to bring up a different topic entirely because I lost my train somewhere in there, and I was just like thinking about.
You got it.
Like, it's funny because like you and I will just message each other deck lists periodically, and just like, it's fun. I love seeing your deck lists and figuring out like your commander decks are wild. But
Thank
I
you.
remembered something that you have a lot of magic art, don't you?
I do. I do have a lot of art. I'm like
Yeah,
looking up and staring at things.
yeah. Because I was like, because I was been sitting there. I'm like, we were going to talk about something, and then I'm like, oh yeah, you own like a billion pieces of original magic art. And I was just wondering if we could talk about that a little bit because it's cool.
Sure.
When did you start? How did you? What was the first thing you got? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, it's a great question. I'm so like the big thing for me, this like I'm drawing this out so I could try to remember exactly what my first piece was. Um but I just really appreciate the process in creating the art. So the vast majority of my collection is actually sketches. So I love pencil
Mm.
sketches. And so like I have a couple of things out, but like most of my stuff is actually folios in the living room under my couch. And it's just like
Under
yeah,
your
I know.
couch.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. If anybody's coming in here, then they now know exactly where the goods are. But no, it's just one of the best things about collecting like sketches is like sure it's a piece of ephemera that's associated with a something I'm very passionate about and have been passionate about for a very long time. But the other part of it I love is the artistic process and like like one of my favorite things was I picked up a set of thumbnails from Brian Pancoast, and it was Leovold's operative on one side, and I'm forgetting it was another conspiracy card on the back side, and just like little thumbs. But
Mm.
what I loved is also on the page was a scribbled grocery list, like for him to make sure that he went and got and picked things up for his kids. So like there's just there's you're just as much picking up a piece of ephemera as you're picking up like something intensely personal from the artist.
One of the
Um,
things, it's funny you mentioned Pancos because like there was a card that he was like using as his pen test. You know, he sits down and he like tests out his pen by scratching or scribbling on this card while he's ready to do sketches. And it was one of my podcast partner Wheeler's favorite cards. And just like some random comment or something that he like absolutely loves or has some resonance with. And I was like, hey Pancos, can I have your scratch pad? And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what do you mean scratch? And I'm like, well, that card is like one of my buddy's favorite cards, and it would be funny as hell for me to give him your trash relic. And it's just exactly that. It's like it's pure ephemera. It's not worth much to anybody except for the person who really has an attachment to that emotion. And I think
yeah,
that's like my favorite stuff.
yeah. It's funny. In the span of time, I have not remembered what my first piece was, so I've horribly failed that. But I can
It's
give
funny though because like Pancos did send me this, which is
oh the
the
Nightcrawler
Nightcrawler.
AP.
Yeah, because it's on the back of like a Ranger VOS or whatever. But like Nightcrawler is my favorite X Men, and he was doing just a bunch of like X Men like test drawings or fun drawings or whatever. And I was like, dude, if you do Nightcrawler, I want it. And he just mailed it to me, and I was like, this is the sickest thing ever.
He's such a
He's
sweet
such a
dude too.
sweetheart.
I think I'm seeing. So I'm going to in 2 weeks. I'm going out to an art show in Trinidad, Colorado. So it's about 3 hours south of Denver. About
Mm.
yeah, about three and a half hours south of Denver. And this cat Elliot Lang, wonderful person. Met him at IllexCon a few years back. I have a couple of his pieces strewn about the apartment. He started just curating, this fantastic art show at the A.R. Mitchell Museum out in Trinidad. And A.R. Mitchell was like one of those golden era Western like book cover artists.
Hmm.
And so this gallery that's there just has almost all of his work available like to look at, and they'll put it up on display at times. And so Elliot started curating the show. And I don't know if there was like an official brief to artists, but I think when they were described the event, so many artists took to heart, like, I want to do like golden era Western aesthetic, but my style. So like the example I have, I'll show you later. Ryan did an absolutely stunning piece for last year's show, the first year,
Mm.
and it's a part of his personal series that he's been doing.
Yeah.
And it is a woman riding what I believe is a reindeer, surrounded by this huge pack of hundreds of wolves. And so like she's just, yeah, I'll if you look it up, it comes up, and I have the color study, which is about, I think it's a 5x7, 4x6. And
Yeah, he had this series called Frontier Fantasy, because I remember I was looking at that earlier, which is like kind of just like, what if Utah was a magical place? you know?
yeah, no, this was a part of it. I'm doing a little
Yeah.
Googling to send it to you so you could see it. But there was just so many fantastic artists at this. And it was another one of those situations where, meeting magic artists at a magic event, like I described it before, as like a conveyor belt. They're just trying to generate as much, as much content in terms of sketches or signatures or selling prints as possible. Obviously to make a profit, but also this is just an opportunity to see so many people. But then it's also, it's just super taxing. And so the beauty of being able to go and see folks like at an IllexCon, at this like Characters in Context, is there's none of those errors. Very, very similar to what we were talking about before in terms of just like hanging with friends, where it's just like, you just get to be like just chill people. And you could talk about art, you could talk about the news, you could talk about the weather,
Yeah, exactly. I remember, so the famous magic artist Jason Engel, before he was a big deal, he had done like some L5R artwork and some Dragonlance art stuff. That's how I knew him. And he had a booth at Gen Con, and nobody was coming to see him, or they were just coming and passing or whatever. He was not like now where he's got 45 lines or whatever. And I used to just sit there and I would just hand him my sketch pad, and we would just talk to each other for hours, and he would draw all my D&D characters and whatever. And he's just like, I don't care. I got nothing else to do. And now I've got this sketch pad, which is like, now, not in a million years would he be able to draw anything for me.
I still have my original. It's probably, actually, you asked about sketches. Probably my first sketches were getting sketches on a playmat done, and I had between 2012 and 2014, I had just a litany of artists just doodle away on this just old ratty blank playmat I had.
I love seeing people with those because it's got so much personality and character.
I got to bring, maybe I'll bring that back out one of these times, because it's a non-stitched, so it's like starting to fray at the edges and stuff. But yeah, no, like, just to bring it back to magic art, I think it's a beautiful space to be, because you are, it's one thing for artists to get pulled into magic because it is the preeminent, IP to be associated with. And it does so much for, I never want to talk about the idea of exposure dollars and stuff like that, but it's like getting on WotC's payroll certainly helps in terms of like, the associations, your CV, how many people actually get to experience your art on the day to day. And so like, the two most recent pieces, I can answer this question. You didn't ask it, but I'll answer.
Yeah,
the two most recent pieces. So I got Stephen Belladin's Mox Jasper sketch.
Oh my God, I want that. I want that card, let alone the art for it.
I was sitting in the panel where they unveiled it at Chicago, and a friend is his agent, and I was sitting with him. And as soon as Jasper popped up, I collect, like, my collection is primary. I like to call it bots and baubles. So it's a lot of artifacts, robots. I have a full set of Moxen from various. Most of them are Eternal Weekend, the sketches for the prize art. But then I also have Volkan Baga's Mox Ruby. That was the last one I had to find. But I was sitting with him, and like, it comes up, and I just turn, and I was just like, I need that. I need that. So there was that, and then just the other week,
God, Mock Jasper looks so sick though.
it's so good, this,
Mm.
and especially once you like, it was pointed out to me later on during Chicago that it was like positioned as the eye of the dragon.
Oh.
And I just completely lost my mind because I was like, that's just such a cool perspective reference.
Oh yeah. Oh, ooh, that's so sick. I'm just staring at it right now.
And
I love Moxes. I mean, everybody
well,
loves Moxes. It's like,
I mean,
dumb
yeah,
thing to say.
I'm the most egregious of them because I'm just trying to get them all. The latest piece that just it's currently waiting in Memphis for customs to release it. But I got Chrome Mox from Volkenbaga directly from Germany. So he's held on to that for quite a few years, and he finally put it up,
Okay,
and I was
buddy.
like, I'm not gonna let that one. I'm not. I let a few slide over the years, and I was like, I'm not gonna let this one. It's like, it's gonna sting, but we're gonna make it work.
I'll be honest. I always preferred the Junko Chrome Box to the Volkenbaga one, just because like it looks kind of weird. Like it looks like his Chrome Box looks like a badge that you'd see in a 1950s car.
Oh
Chrome.
yeah, yeah.
And like Baga's at least looks like no, I mean Donato's at least looks like a orb. But I guess it's chrome, so what is it going to be, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the artificiality. Is that the word? I don't know. It's like, it's I guess the artifice of it, versus being like a proper stone, being something made of chrome. I'd love to see what the actual WotC art brief was to like describe it, because obviously it's a manufactured Mox versus some of the other Mox, and so those are the two most recent. And then there's I think probably the piece it's literally nearest, because I'm looking right at it above me in my living or my dining room. But I also got Aaron Miller's treasure token from Bloomborough. I have the final oil painting, yeah. And actually, you might be able to see it here, right next to the lamp in my living room, with the maquettes that he cut up and painted. So they're sitting all right.
And that's right, like the little raccoon family or whatever, right?
Yeah. So
it's so pretty.
That was another one where it was like, I think I was in Florida at my good friend Kyle, Cowboy Kyle, for those who know him.
I love Kyle. Everybody loves Kyle.
Yeah. I was staying with him and doing some magic down there, and I think I was in the car from the hotel I was staying at going to his place, and it came up, and it was another one of those things where I got on the phone. I was like, I need to have this. Like, what do we need to do?
Man, you know what I would love to have that probably is impossible to get? A Pankos Mox Tantalite.
That's one of the ones that
so pretty.
Got by me. So since getting Chrome Mox, I've deleted Facebook off my phone because the only thing I would use Facebook, the app, not Messenger, was to go to the art groups. And that gets me into a lot of trouble. So that's why. But I have the auction posts for Mox Tantalite saved, in the event if I had a windfall, I could figure out like who was the person who won the sketch for that and just go contact them. It's never worked, but at least the opportunity is there down the line. And if this person is hearing it, let's talk. But it's like me. I feel like Thanos collecting Infinity Stones for my gauntlet. I think I shared that GIF numerous times when I won the Chrome Mox auction the other week.
There's only been one art piece I've tried actively. Well, there've been a couple of arts I've tried actively to get, but there was the piece that had come out, which was from the Gideon spellbook, and it was Gideon doing an offering to the statue of Ketra. And I think it's solemn. I forget what the card was.
It might have been solemn offering.
No, it wasn't solemn offering, because nobody would make a stupid a card out of that, because that's like just a cheap 4-cent common. It was one of those cards where, you know what? Hang on one second. I gotta look.
Oh, worship.
It was exactly that. It was worship, because I love that card and I love that art, and I came very, very close, and somebody beat me, and I was utterly distraught. And I ended up buying a print of it because I don't care. I love that piece so much. And it meant so much to me because it's like my favorite character and doing a prayerful thing. Like the only time religion been that card exists because of me, like rather that art print. Because I complained about how Wizards treats religion so much and how they never show it in an uplifting and helpful light at all. And they're like, all right, fine. We had you in mind when we were creating this Gideon image. And I'm like, yes, I did something. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, I've discovered that for me, it is much easier and more accessible for me to get cool, like AP sketches and originals that are unique and cool and remind me of a thing rather than trying to actually hunt down the, like, I mean, you know how it is. It's
well,
like
I mean, I got to be honest, and cats like Donnie Cartwright are doing such an incredible job, like bringing APs to the front of the fold because the overall quality of the work being done on that size, you had, like he's still around. So it's originally you had cats like Eric Klug doing, phenomenal altar work on pieces. And I think that opened the door to a lot of folks' like perception of what could be done on like a 2.5, like a 2.5 by 3.5 or whatever the size of a card is. And then I couldn't point to who is like the artist that really started doing it, but the paintings and the various like crazy amount of detail that people are cramming in, like Derchenko, does absolutely stunning work on those APs. And when they go to auction all the time, it's like they are mini paintings. Like, so it's, I think definitely, if you're inclined towards owning art, but you don't want to own the art, it is going and getting something from these artists, because the way they're treating it now is incredible.
I have a lot of APs just hanging around on my desk. Like I got Magali to draw Link from Legend of Zelda for me because she loves Link. And I'm like, hey, you want to draw Link for me? And she's like, yes. Which one? I'm like, whichever one you want. And she's like, Link with beautiful flowing hair. I'm like, all right. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Let's go. I'm going to have her draw a Final Fantasy thing for me just because that, you know what? What's the point of a relationship if you can't use it sometimes?
Oh, for sure. Like get what's getting, like,
yeah, I don't know. It's like, you don't want to take advantage of your friends, but sometimes your friends do really cool things.
But then you also get the cool story of like, hey, my friend did a really cool thing. And you have a token of that you can showcase and show affection for. Like I love stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's why I buy, like, my big collection is soldier tokens drawn by artists or whatever, because it's like, look, I've got a deck, its theme is soldier tokens. I want all these artists to draw me soldier tokens because, like, maybe you've drawn a soldier, maybe you haven't, but here's a really cool image that you can do that's like going to fit into my deck theme and also be totally unique. And it's super, super sick. Like I have a Christopher Rush soldier.
Oh,
Christopher Rush.
Yeah.
Literally the god king of magic art before he died, right? Like, it reminded me of the fact that, like, when I was younger, I used to take my D&D player's handbook around Gen Con and just have all these artists sketch in them. So I've got like Larry Elmore and Todd Lockwood and Clyde, all these god tier classic artists just drawing doodles in my books and stuff, like it's a yearbook or something. And I'm like, this is the coolest stuff ever. What do you want? I don't know. It's cool, man. I'm just glad that things have gotten more accessible for people, but it's also fun to be able to own cool things.
Oh yeah. Well, and especially, like I said to Eric, Klug, when we were at Chicago, like I still have
Klug drew me a soldier.
I still have 2 or 3 altars from him back from 2012, 2013. And it's just like, I don't think I'm ever going to move them, but it's like,
it's cool just know.
It's just a sweet piece of ephemera to have and to hold to that extent. I would say,
see, look, Klug drew me a soldier token.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so funny.
It's a little green
army man. It's a little plastic toy army man.
What was I have a couple of tokens from him from one of those gathering magic parties. I have a squirrel. I have a mirror. A mirror's got a little knife, like he's about to get in a knife fight. Like it's like
You know
just
what's
so
wild?
good.
At Chicago, I was talking to him, and he was telling me that he went to a gathering where a bunch of his collectors of his stuff were hanging out, and he got to see pieces that he had done over the years all together in one place like he had never seen because he'd done them at separate times and sold them to different people or whatever, and they're all there in like this row, this series or something. And he's like, I've never seen my work in kind of this place before. And I was like, that's so sick, man. That must feel so good.
That reminds me, like one of the coolest things I got to see. I think it was the first IllexCon I went to, and for folks, IllexCon is a imaginative art realism show in Reading, Pennsylvania. Around mid late October every year, and there's always a ton of magic artists. There's a ton of like up and comers. The artist showcase that happens Friday and Saturday night is phenomenal. But one of the coolest things was Mike Linneman and Donnie Kaltrider, I believe, collabed to bring a small magic art show to that event. And one of the centerpiece of this, because this was around Unstable. And so you had contraptions and those big, beautiful muralistic pieces, and what they had on display here was the last time. Oh God! Wait, hold on.
The dude who had the unfinished piece.
No, not him. Horsley.
Ralph.
Ralph. Thank you. God, his name I couldn't grasp it. All 9 of Ralph's pieces on the wall together before they went off to their respective artists, respective owners. And so it was just cool to see like a giant wall of these contraptions in their glorious singular form. And that's exactly, it's kind of like that Eric piece where it's just like, you may never again have the opportunity to see these in that way as they were ostensibly intended to be seen. And that was it's just another just cool thing to just kind of be like, yeah, I was there. That was kind of nifty. I don't know. I didn't have a good way to land that story. No, but it was just like I made that association.
I was just lost in the sauce of just thinking about like how cool that must feel as an artist to be able to see all your stuff in one place, kind of like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think magic art is so sick and it's so much fun. Wow, how the hell did an hour go already?
I know, right?
That's so weird.
We said we'd be real good at this.
Yeah, like I was like, how do I introduce this? I don't even know because like you've done so many things in Magic. You've had art, you've had like old Commander shows from the dawn of time. You've put together huge communities in different places. Everybody knows who you are in very specific circles. But also we're just friends who can just talk about things, and I love that because sometimes, real talk audience, sometimes these conversations are really, really interesting for you guys because I need to talk to some magic celebrity or something or whatever, and I just need to do it. And sometimes I just need to talk to my friends, and you guys get to listen.
Yeah, anyways, you're subjected to us, which is a beautiful thing.
Well, you know what? Like, it's fine, dude. It's like these are all independent conversations. Pick and choose the ones you want to listen to. I'm not going to be hurt. I'm just happy to bring them to you anyways. But Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been super delightful. It's love talking to you. I love hanging out with you. And I hope we get a chance maybe in Atlanta or I don't know, wherever the hell we cross paths again. But yeah, if folks wanted to find you for any random reason, where could they go?
Yeah, the main place for me on the internet right now is over on Blue Sky. So it's just my full name. So it's Andrew Magrini. I forget how it's tagged at bluesky.com. Or
yeah, it's like a long thing.
It's a weird thing.
I hate that Blue Sky makes you do the whole thing.
I should probably do the whole website thing. So then it's just like a website handle. But
yeah, but then I would have to make a website.
I know I'd have to buy a URL and host a thing, and I tried doing that once. It didn't work out, but yeah, that's pretty much the main place if folks want to come. You want to talk Cube? I'll drop pack one, pick ones on the daily basis. I have a bunch of other stuff that I post about on there, but
yeah, I love
come hang
pack
out.
one, pick ones. They make me happy. Also, I always take the elf. It's basically, oh look, it's a fast bond. There's like 3 mocks in there in the soul ring. Well, I'm taking the fast bond.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, yeah. Dude. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. My dream is to be playing a cube game where I've got like, Oracle Moldiah and what the hell is that centaur from friggin' Theros that lets you do the same thing and get a life every time you put it into play.
Oh crap! You're right.
The one.
You look at the top of your deck, and if it's a land, yep,
right. And then like having Crucible Worlds and Fast Bond and just being able to go like, I'm strip mining your whole thing. It's just over. Don't even.
So cruel, but so good. Yes.
Delicious.
You
know what? Not enough people put Dingus Egg into their lands packages. Let me have a way to win. Like, I want to strip mine your lands and kill you.
That is delicious.
Dingus Egg is such a messed up card. People are like, why would this ever come up? I'm like, well, in the day, we had Stone Rain and Armageddon, so you could very conceivably ruin someone's life.
So true.
Anyways, my friends, as always, you can find me on Blue Sky Achievement Putt. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold or at YouTube every Tuesday. Thanks to my editor, Dan. You can also hear me on Achievement Wheeler Love Magic or the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. And remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks all.